Hi everyone, this is Anna and thanks so much for visiting my channel. Tonight I'm going to be sharing the process of making this card using the recently released Heart Medallion stamp from Impression Obsession. I'm going to be stamping the image on watercolor paper using vintage photo distress ink, and because I want to make sure that the image is a really good impression, I'm using my Stamp-a-ma-jig to make sure that I get that image lined up and I can stamp it several times. I'm also using the Speedball Elegant Writer to add some additional color. When this ink is exposed to water, it separates out into different colors like pinks and blues, a little bit of greens, and it's just really pretty, and it leaves a little unexpected look to your colored image. And there you can see I'm just using clear water to pull the color from the stamped image into the solid areas. So the brown inks that you're seeing is from the stamped image using the vintage photo, and the blues and greens that you see are from the Speedball pen. And I am just painting with clear water. So I really love this technique. It's very fun. This is the vintage watercolor technique from the Split Coast Stampers Technique Forum. Next, I'm adding some additional color. I am using the Derwent Inktense colored pencils. These are a watercolor pencil that once dry are permanent, and so I really love using them for this technique because part of the process will have some spritzed water on the design, and because these ink pencils have that permanent property to them, they don't get all crazy and spread on me, so they kind of stay right where I've put them. So the two colors that I'm using from the Inktense pencils are Chili Red 0500 and Iron Blue 0840, which is one of my favorite blues from this pencil line. And once I have all the little areas colored in with color, I'm just using again some clear water to pull some color into more of those stamped areas, and pulling that color with clear water from the stamped line detail of that vintage photo ink. I'll just continue to pull that color around the image just to give it a little bit more definition from the white background. This isn't necessarily a technique that you would want to use if you're a perfectionist. This is a very spontaneous process. You don't have a lot of control. It's kind of a surprise if your paintbrush with water touches a line and it pulls color. Sometimes it doesn't pull as much color as others. So it's a very spontaneous process, which is one of the reasons I like it so much. Next one I'm going to be doing is taking a couple of stamps from Impression Obsession to add some interest to the background. I'm using a script stamp here, stamped in distress ink in tea dye, and so it's not quite as dark as the vintage photo of the stamped image. And then I'm also using a little bit of music script stamped in that same tea dye ink. Then I just give it a spritz with water, and you can see how that Inktense pencil stays permanent in its place, where the color from the distress ink does bleed out into where I've spritzed the water. I use my heat tool at the same time to kind of control how much spread I'm getting with the water, and just continue to dabble back and forth with the water spritzer and the heat tool just to kind of get the flow and the feathering of those stamped images the way that I like them. Finally, I wiped off the edge of the paper and added some more of that tea dye and vintage photo ink just around the edges of the card. And then I'm getting some additional color from the Inktense pencils and just adding some splatter to the base of the card around that image. And then I'll give it a couple of spritzes with water, and that will spread those little polka dots that I've dropped in there. It'll spread those out just a little bit. And again, I use the heat tool then to control the spread and dry the image. Next, I decided to add some vintage photo polka dots as well, and so I just squished a little bit of ink on my glass surface, moistened that up with a larger paintbrush, and added the splatter to the card. I did add a couple of more spritzes of water just to get a little bit more interest in some of the corners, and then use the heat tool to dry. I'm going to be removing the tape here, which is so fun to reveal that crisp white edge. And I did not get that panel quite centered, which was not my goal anyway, because I knew I was going to cut it down. But before I did that, I decided to give it a quick spritz with some glitter dust, which I absolutely love doing. I just love the bit of sparkle that this adds. So after I had the panel trimmed down to the size I wanted, I realized that I really did like that white crisp edge on the outside edge, so I did add another piece of watercolor paper to the back of the image, and then I adhered that to a beautiful red cardstock that matches the Inktense chili red color, and then I finally adhered that to a speckled cream colored card base. And I think the sparkle in this image is just beautiful with that glitter dust. And last, I am going to be adding a twine bow and a little piece of cotton ribbon, cotton lace ribbon, and a little flower button for embellishment on my card. I have to fiddle fart around with this bow for a little bit and then decide that I'm going to add this cotton lace and a button on top as well. So anyways, that finishes off the card for this evening. I hope you enjoyed. I think this is a really fun technique, and if you've never tried it before, I encourage you to give it a try. You can use other water-based markers. They don't have to be, other water-based ink pads. They don't have to be distress inks, but they will perform a little bit differently. So I encourage you to give it a try. It is lots of fun, and it's certainly a technique that I enjoy returning to over and over again. So thank you so much for watching my video. I will have links below for the Impression Obsession website, also to my blog, where there are details about this January release, and also on the Impression Obsession blog, you'll find links to the other designers who are participating in this month's inspiration. So thank you so much for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it, and we will talk again soon. Bye!